Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to today's Wild Rift video. In today's guide, we're going to be taking a look at the Radiant Dawn Leona. Leona is a tank support that offers a lot of crowd control with her abilities to lock the enemy champions in place. With all of her crowd control, she becomes one of the strongest teamfight champions in the game. When comboing all her abilities together, she can stun a target for up to 3 seconds. However, she is a very all-in champion, so when engaging, be sure to have some follow-up from your team, or it could be the death of you. Take a look through the build with Leona. As a tank support, you want to build a lot of items that give you health, armor, and magic resist. These 3 stats allow you to engage with all of your crowd control and also be able to take a lot of damage. For the support item, we are going to be going for Relic Shield. This gives you the most amount of maximum health out of all the other options in terms of the support items. And also in general, it's very easy for Leona to walk up and execute minions with the Relic Shield passive, allowing you to push your lane, share your gold with your support, and also being able to heal a little bit of health. For the boots, most of the time you want to go for defensive boots, so you can either go for plated steel caps if you're against a lot of attack damage, or if you're against a lot of magic damage, you can go for mercury treads because it gives you the magic resist. Either one of these 2 boots are totally fine. And for the support upgrade, you normally want to either go for goggle stone plate. This is really good when you're surrounded by multiple enemy champions, and especially when you're engaging to get that huge and big shield, or you can go for locket if you feel like you need more of a team-wide shield. That could also be a helping hand. For the first item, we have Warmog's armor. This item gives you so much maximum health, and with the extra HP from the boots and also relic shield, you're able to get that Warmog's heart passive. So when you're engaging with Leona with all of her crowd control, if you do drop low on health, you can just walk away, heal back up with Warmog's heart, and then you can look to engage again. Since you don't really run out of mana that often with Leona, it's a really good item, just allowing you to be super cheap. With supports, you don't really want expensive items, you just want cheap items that give you a lot of great stats, and with Warmog's armor you get that as well. Not to mention also the maximum health you get, and also the little bit of ability haste as well. In terms of more utility items, Zeke's Convergence is incredibly powerful. You still do have the maximum health, the armor, which is also super helpful, but the great thing is from the passives from Zeke's Convergence. So when you cast your ultimate, you surround yourself with a blizzard, enhancing nearby enemies' attacks for 10 seconds. So you'll be able to slow enemy champions around you, which is incredible for Leona because she's always going to be in the face of enemy champions. But not only that, when you have follow-up from your teammates, their auto attacks will also be doing additional damage. So it's incredible for you to do a little bit of extra damage, have that little bit of extra utility as well with the slows. So when you do lock a champion in place, when they do come out of the stun, they'll still be slowed. So it'll be extremely difficult for them to escape, and also giving your team a little bit of extra damage. Amarant's Twin Guard as well, again another incredibly strong item. You don't have maximum health with this, but since you have so much maximum health with Warmog's armor, you don't really need that much extra. That's why Twin Guard works so well. Armor, magic resist, incredible, and the endurance passive means that you gain stacks of endurance every second while in combat with the enemy champion, and at maximum stacks you gain size, you gain tenacity, which means you lower the CC duration of enemy champions, and you also gain increased armor by 30%, or armor and magic resist by 30%. This also works on top of your second ability as well, which also gives you increased armor and magic resist. So with that ability on top of Amarant's Twin Guard as well, you're going to be getting a whole bunch of armor and magic resist to allow you to sustain a lot and also survive a lot during team fights. As for the last item, there are a few items you can go for. This is a pretty flexible option. I do have Thornmail in here since it does allow you to apply grievous wounds. Since you're always going to be at the front line, you're always going to be taking damage from enemy champions. Applying grievous wounds is very helpful because you can reduce the healing of enemy champions, but there are quite a few other options that you can go for. If you're against a lot of magic resist, you can go for another magic resist item like Force of Nature, which also gives you that little bit of extra movement speed. Randuin's Omen is really good if you're against a lot of critical strike damage, or maybe you want to be more of a carry and do a little bit more damage. You can go for something like Iceborne Gauntlet as well. So plenty of defensive items, plenty of options that you can choose from and be flexible on, but in terms of the base build, this is the best way to go. In terms of runes, Glacial Augment is my choice for the primary rune. This allows you to slow enemy champions and also allows you to reduce the damage from enemy champions as well. You can go for Aftershock, but I feel like Aftershock, giving yourself more defenses, is not really needed. Again, more of a rune that kind of helps your team, because when you are slowing enemy champions or when you're CCing enemy champions, you get them rays of glacial that come out, and anyone hit by them, they're going to be taking, or they're going to be dealing, sorry, reduced damage. That means if your AD carry is walking up and if you're trying to deal damage with your AD carry, if they're focusing your AD carry, they're going to be dealing less damage. However, with Aftershock, it's more of you gain a bunch of armor and magic resist, but it doesn't really help your AD carry or help the rest of your team, if that makes sense. So Glacial Augment still going to be the best choice in my opinion for the rune set. Nullifying Orb for the first rune, probably the best one here. You can go for Courage of the Colossus as well to get a little bit of extra shield, but I feel like Nullifying Orb in general just gives you more shielding and also helps you when you are low on HP. For the second rune set, you can either go for Bone Plating if you're against a lot of combo damage, but I feel like Second Wind is very powerful during the laning phase, since most of the time you're going to be up against these range supports like Lulu, Seraphine, Janna, that are going to be poking you a lot during the laning phase. So Second Wind can just heal you up a little bit more. And then for your final rune set, Perseverance is very strong because you gain armor and magic resist when you get crowd control, which is going to be very common because you are going to be engaging quite a lot with Leona. Or you're going to go something like Overgrowth just to get more HP over time. And as for the secondary rune, you always want to go for Hex Flash. Hex Flash gives you so much more playmaking potential with Leona, whether you're engaging, whether you're trying to flash away as well. You being able to sit in the bush, use Hex Flash to surprise enemy champions is very, very powerful and super underrated as well. As for the runes, we're going to be going for Flash. Obviously, Flash really good for trying to disengage and also trying to engage as well. We can flash forward, use our first ability to stun, and then combo that with our other abilities. And then since we are very engage heavy and very aggressive support, we are going to be going for Ignite. We want to engage. We want to try and get early pressure in the laning phase. So Ignite gives us a little bit of kill pressure early on. But that's everything for the build. Let's head on to the abilities. Now, overall, Leona's abilities are not that hard to understand. They're also pretty easy to execute as well. You can combo a lot of abilities together to do a lot of damage and also have a lot of crowd control. However, there are a few tips and tricks that I do want to show you with each of these abilities. First up, with the passive, we have Sunlight. So abilities apply sunlight for 1.5 seconds. Other allied champions can consume the sunlight when damaging enemies, dealing bonus magic damage. And this is why it's so important and why I'm going to keep repeating it, that when you engage with Leona, you have the backup from your team. You don't want to go in alone with Leona. She's not a bruiser that can be played in the Baron lane or anything like that. She is a support that needs the follow-up from your allies to deal more damage and to help when using the crowd control. So when I'm using abilities, if I use my second ability, for example, a quick tip as well, you can apply multiple sunlights on multiple enemy champions as well. So someone like a Caitlyn, for example, can use the first ability. And if I use my second ability here, and if I apply the double sunlight, you'll see that little bit of sunlight that happens on the enemy champions for just over a second. You don't have a lot of time. So as an allied AD carry, if you have a Leona on your team, every single time that your Leona walks forward and uses your abilities, you want to always trade with the enemy champions, because you're always going to win that trade. That bonus 150 magic damage can be so huge at all stages of the game. But this works, like I mentioned, with all of your abilities. So when you're comboing your abilities, if your AD carry follows up with an auto attack every single time after using an ability, this can allow you to do multiple points of bonus magic damage. So it could be stacked on top of each other. So that 150 becomes 300, that 300 becomes 450, and then the 450 can go up to 600 as well when you apply all your stacks of sunlight. So you can use like your second ability, for example, use my first ability. When that goes off, my second ability goes off. When that goes off, my third ability. When that goes off, my ultimate. So there's no cooldown for this passive, so you can just keep proccing it over and over and over again, making Leona incredibly powerful. For the first ability, we have Shield of Daybreak. So look at that, really nice and simple. All it does is empowers the next attack to stun for 1 second and also deal bonus magic damage. Really simple, really easy ability to use. You can use this very effectively when you're in close range of enemy champions. All you do is your normal auto attacks will look like this. When you use your first ability, your shield will light up, and then your next auto attack will stun. Very simple, very easy to understand. One little tip that I do want to give to you with this ability, if you want to deal the most amount of damage output in a short period of time, it does work as an auto attack reset. So you can auto attack, first ability, auto attack. You can see how quick that is. I'll show you again. Auto attack, first ability, auto attack. When you auto attack normally, you see how there's a little bit of a delay after every single auto attack. But with your first ability, you can reset that auto attack animation so you can deal a little bit more damage in a short period of time. This is also very helpful when clearing enemy wards as well. If an enemy is going to be warding in this bush down here, you can auto attack, first ability, auto attack, and kill the ward. You don't actually need a pink ward or a control ward or anything like that in the bot side, because you can kill a ward so quickly. The control ward will help you, but it just helps you clear out the wards very quickly. So when you're going around clearing vision, make sure you use this technique, because your first ability does have a pretty short cooldown as well. So you don't really need to worry about too much, 5-second cooldown. If you clear a ward, you can wait a few seconds until you engage onto enemy champions. Leona's second ability is Eclipse. So for 3 seconds, you gain armor and magic resist, and after the effect ends, enemies take magic damage, and if an enemy is hit, Leona retains her defenses for a bonus 3 seconds. So when using this ability, you always want to make sure you are close to enemy champions, so when that big massive ray of sun hits at the end of the ability, if it hits an enemy champion, then you still maintain that bonus armor and magic resist that you maintain. So if I use the ability, you can see how I have the bonus defenses, and when it ends, I get rid of it. If I'm close to an enemy champion, I have the bonus defenses. I hit an enemy champion, you can see the shield is still up and I still have the bonus defenses. That's how you'll know if you have the bonus defenses or not. If Leona has her shield up, you know she has her defenses. If she doesn't have her shield up, you know you don't have your defenses anymore. This is a big thing to keep an eye on when playing Leona, is when you have this extra shield up. If you have the different stance, then you know you have the extra defenses, so you can look to try and engage and maybe look to try and take a trade on an enemy champion, because you know you'll have them extra defenses for a few seconds. Nothing really else too special about this ability. Just make sure you stand close to enemy champions. You want to make sure you also use this before you engage as well, so you can use your second ability and then use your third ability and first ability to jump in. If you time it right, then you can deal that extra damage and you can have the extra defenses right on time. Leona's third ability is Zenith Blade, which again allows you to deal some magic damage to enemies in a line. And Leona roots the last champion hit for 0.5 seconds and dashes to them. Now it's really important that you keep track of where the last champion is on this ability, because sometimes you want to stun the enemy right in front of you, but if there's an enemy champion behind them, then you're actually going to be traveling all the way to the enemy right at the back, and you're not going to root the champion right in front of you. So there's two ways that you can kind of work around this. You can either use your Zenith Blade at maximum range and make sure it doesn't hit any other enemy champion. This is very difficult to use though, because Zenith Blade does have a wind-up time. You'll see when I use the ability, there's a little bit of a wind-up time. It doesn't activate the ability straight away. You have to wait for a little bit before that Zenith Blade reaches that maximum distance. So it can be easily dodgeable by a flash or by a dash or anything like that. So it can be extremely difficult. Most of the time it's best to just sit in a bush and then use your Zenith Blade in the bush to be able to travel. That's normally the best way to do it. Or you can sit in a bush here, use your first ability and then use your third ability afterwards. But again, you have to be so careful that there's not enemy champions nearby. For example, if I want to stun this target dummy in front here, if I use my third ability in this line, you can see here, I'm traveling to the furthest dummy and also I'm rooting that furthest dummy. So that target that I wanted to stun right in front of me is not going to get stunned at all. So the best way to do it is when you have enemies close to you, you want to use your first ability and your ultimate instead. You don't actually want to use your third ability, or you can step to one side and then use your third ability to be able to stun and root. But again, you do have that slight delay though, so you do need to be extremely careful when using Zenith Blade on Leona. One, because you could be in a position where you don't want to be in, when you're kind of too far forward and you don't have any allies to back you up. And two, you want to make sure that this is not dodgeable. You know, you want to make sure you're sitting in bushes, you hit a maximum range, or the enemies don't have any flashes or dashes to be able to dodge as well. There's a few little tips there for Zenith Blade to make sure that you can hit it and guarantee that this is the start of your setup for the rest of your abilities. And lastly, we have Leona's ultimate, which is Solar Flare. So it cools down a beam of light, again dealing some magic damage, slowing enemies by 80% for 1.5 seconds. However, if enemies are in the center, then they are stunned instead of slowed. This is a very long range ultimate that can set you up with a whole bunch of plays. You can see the range of the ultimate. I can sit in this bush and I can stun the enemy target dummy all the way over there. This is such an incredible setup tool for so many engage possibilities with Leona. Again, the big thing is this outer circle that you see. If enemies are hitting the outer circle, they are slowed. If they're hitting the center, which you can see there, they're going to be stunned instead. So for example, here the enemies are slowed. If I hit it in the center, you can see this target dummy is stunned instead. So it's a big difference to be able to aim this correctly and make sure it is hit right in the center. You do have a pretty big radius to hit though. But again, this makes Leona's roaming so powerful. You can come from the bot side all the way up to mid, use your ultimate on the target dummy, use your third ability, and then use your first ability straight afterwards. A quick, easy combo like that can be the death of a mid lane or pretty much anyone on the map as well. But you can use this at close range as well. As I mentioned already, you can use your first ability and then follow up with your ultimate straight afterwards to kind of chain the crowd control, so you're not putting crowd control on top of each other. That could be a really effective way. The best way to use it though is definitely at range. You know, using this at range, making sure that you can catch enemies off guard, especially if they're right at the back as well, like an enemy AD carry, and then you can use that to root them for a good amount of time, up to 2, maybe even 3 seconds of rooting and stunning right at the back line. So make sure you use the ultimate at long range. Make sure you use this to set up the rest of the play. But again, remember, as I always mentioned, when you're engaging with Leona, don't go in alone. Make sure you have follow-up from your team so they can deal the damage, because you're not the damage source. You're the one that's setting up the plays. You need the rest of your team to be there to be that damage source. As for combos with Leona, there are many different ways in which you can use your combos. You have your first ability, your third ability, and your ultimate that can all be comboed together in any way, shape, or form. I've shown quite a few of them already. You know, one simple one is your ultimate followed up by your third ability, and then you can use that auto attack, Q auto attack. You have enough time as well because you do have the stun. So you have your ultimate, you wait until the ultimate goes off, you use your third ability, auto, Q auto. And you can see that they are stunned for the whole duration. However, if you want maybe a little bit of an easier time to be able to land your ultimate, because it is the most important ability to land, you can start off with your third ability first, third ability into first ability, and then your ultimate. And by the time that your first ability goes off, you can use your ultimate. Just like that. You see, there is a slight delay. You can see that there's a slight way in which the enemies can kind of dodge and be able to stun away, but it can be extremely difficult though. You can see that most of the time you are going to be stunned for that full duration, and enemy dummy is going to be stunned for that whole duration as well. But also you can use your first ability, your third ability into your ultimate. You can use third ability into ultimate into first ability. Any way in which you combo these 3 abilities is going to be incredibly powerful for Leona. It's knowing what ability to use at the right time. Again, the big thing is just guaranteeing that you land your third ability. If you feel like the enemy is going to dodge your third ability, then start by using your ultimate. If you feel like you can easily land your third ability, if the enemy doesn't have flash, make sure you start with your third ability and then follow up with your first ability and your ultimate. This is the best damage output. Again, if the enemies can dodge your ultimate, then it's going to be extremely difficult, but sometimes you can use your ultimate into your third ability and then your first ability as well. So again, as I mentioned, in terms of combos, your first ability, your third ability, and your ultimate are ways in which you can combo and do a lot of damage and also have a lot of crowd control. But it's about chaining that crowd control on top of each other to make sure you can stun enemy champions for sometimes 2, even up to 3 seconds. In terms of leveling order with Leona, at level 1, you have 2 options. You can go for your first ability at level 1. This could be good, as I mentioned, for clearing early wards. Really good for being able to get that bush priority down in the bottom side of the map. If you can get that, if you can kill an early ward, then that's going to be a lot of vision taken out from the enemy team. So you can use that bush to sit there and hide and try to engage. However, you can go for your second ability as the first ability choice for Leona early on. If you want to walk forward, if you want to tank a lot of damage, and if you want to give a little bit of pressure away from your AD carry. However, most of the time you want to go for your first ability, and then you can go for your third ability. This is a really simple combo at level 2 using your Zenith Blade, your third ability, into your first ability. Being able to engage at level 2 can be extremely powerful. However, you do need to be careful because you won't have your second ability available. But at level 3, you will have your second ability available. So this is where you can use all of your basic abilities to try and engage and also gain a lot of armor and mag resist. Now, for the first ability that you want to max, you might be a little bit surprised by this, but you actually want to make sure that you max your second ability. And I'll explain why right now. So if you look at your second ability, the cooldown goes down, but look at the resistances that goes up. That is the big thing with this second ability. The extra resistance that you gain from your second ability makes this extremely powerful to max as your first ability. This makes Leona such a huge tank and makes her extremely difficult to try and take down. You know, your third ability, your cooldown goes down. Your first ability, you don't really need to max because the cooldown doesn't go down. The second ability, the cooldown going down by 3 seconds, the resistance is going up is absolutely huge, and also the base damage as well, you can see gets over double the amount. So really important to max your second ability, and then you want to max your third ability. As I mentioned, you have that cooldown reduction that will also help you out. And then for your last ability, you want to make sure that you max your first ability, obviously making sure that you take your ultimate when available. That's everything for Leona, for her abilities, her build, her tips and tricks. Now we're going to head into a gameplay now where I'm going to show you a little bit of how to play Leona in a real game of Wild Rift. So I'll see you in just a bit. All right, here we go. On to the gameplay with Leona we go. Another ranked game, another champion ticked off the list with Leona. In my opinion, one of the strongest tank supports right now in the current meta. I think that her setup potential that she can create with her abilities is so powerful. If you had the follow-up for someone like a Jhin, for example, Jhin is a great AD carry to play with Leona. Any sort of aggressive early game AD carries are really, really strong with Leona. You also have Draven as well, which is also very powerful with Leona. Any sort of early game champion can be really, really impactful. You can see here, starting off with my first ability, you can see that we're able to take the early ward down and try and get the bush priority. Unfortunately, at level 1, you are pretty useless with Leona. You know, you don't really have too much. You have to stay back and you have to wait until the kind of the level 2, the level 3 kicks in with Leona. At level 1, you're pretty useless. You are a melee champion, so you do not have to be extremely careful. You can see here, I'm just trying to get this bush priority early on. I'm trying to get level 2 by last hitting the minions with Relic Shield, which is a easy way in which you can get level 2 a lot quicker with Relic Shield. Making sure that you can last hit the minions earlier than your AD carry will allow you to get level 2 quicker. And then at level 2, you can try and push up. You can try and use your Zenith Blade kind of as like a hit and hope tool, really, at level 2. You know, if I hit someone like a Lux, for example, the Jhin can follow up very effectively. Again, you do have to be extremely careful. You know, you don't want to really all-in engage at level 1. It is extremely difficult. You know, you want to wait until level 2, maybe even level 3, like here, for example. Finding that opportunity to engage, find the opportunity to go onto the Lux is the big difference there, and how Jhin can get first blood. So that's what you need to do. You need to wait for the right opportunity to engage and make sure you have the right opportunity to engage with all of your crowd control and all of your follow-up. Unfortunately, the Twitch did gank though early on, so the Twitch unfortunately is going to get the trade kill back on the Jhin, but overall Jhin getting the first blood is really, really huge. But this Lux cannot step too far forwards, and this is why I feel like Leona is so powerful, because if this Lux does step too far forward, I can use my Zenith Blade really easily. I can follow up with my first ability, and then even when I hit level 5, I can follow up with my ultimate as well. So really, really strong there. Both of them use flash as well, so this gives me a great opportunity now as Leona to try and engage again with my Zenith Blade. So what you're going to see me do now, you're going to be seeing me walking in this river, and trying to get priority in this river, trying to make sure that the enemy doesn't have any vision in this in the brush, sorry. And if the enemy doesn't have any vision in this bush, then we're going to be able to use our abilities very effectively and basically zone the enemy champions away. You can see how Lux is really scared now to step too far forward. If she steps too far forward, then she's going to have the death of her, basically. I got the slow here, which is actually really, really strong on Leona. The slow from the loot kits. I can use this slow to actually help me hit Zenith Blade easier. You can see here, unfortunately though, I did get hit though by the Lux Q. If I timed that better, I probably could have used the slow to actually guarantee that I hit my Zenith Blade. But unfortunately, I got hit by the Lux Q, so I couldn't actually do anything else. You see how I'm trying to walk forward. I'm trying to get priority in this bush. I see the Lux has no mana. So I know that this is the opportunity now for me to go in. Again, unfortunately, I missed my Zenith Blade, which is a bit unfortunate. The Jhin, though, does hit an incredibly strong route, and then I can follow up with my ultimate as well. And there you go. There is another kill right there for you with the engage with Leona. So even if you miss the Zenith Blade, being able to understand and realize that, hey, look, the Jhin route has landed. Let me follow up with my ultimate. Let me follow up with my first ability. You can see that the Leona is stunned. The Tristana is stunned for such a long amount of time. And that means that Jhin can follow up, do the extra damage, land the fourth shot, and get the kill as well. For me, the setup play is what makes Leona so powerful at the moment in the current meta, because sometimes as a support, you do feel a little bit useless. Sometimes you feel like you can't make any impact on the team. Your roots are not landing, your stuns are not landing. You don't feel like you can make any impact. But with Leona, you can use her crowd control to be the forefront of your team and to make that impact. You know, take this engage for an example. I flash onto the Twitch and I make a huge impact by being able to stun the Twitch, lock him down, and help Shyvana get the kill. I do try to follow up on the Lux though. Unfortunately, she does flash away. But that's, in my opinion, one of the reasons why Leona can be so strong and why, in my opinion, she is so strong. Because if you're struggling with engage on your team, if you have someone like a Shyvana in the jungle, you know, Shyvana doesn't have a lot of crowd control, doesn't have a lot of ways in which to set up the rest of her team. However, with Leona, you can use all of her abilities. You can use her crowd control to allow the likes of Shyvana to follow up on the engage, the likes of Jhin to follow up on your engage as well. And it just makes it all that big difference. I do try in a tower dive here onto the Tristana. Unfortunately, I kind of misplayed. It's actually so unlucky that the Tristana leveled up. I think she actually probably would have died if she leveled up. That's one of the ways though in which with Leona you can go a bit too far by yourself if you don't have to follow up. That's a great example actually of what I was explaining with Leona. You can't do enough damage by yourself. You can tank the tower for a long amount of time, as you can see, but you need the follow-up from the rest of your team. Unfortunately, Jhin not on the same page as me in that situation, so not able to follow up on my engage and do enough damage. If the Jhin followed me up, then maybe, but that's kind of the solo queue mentality that you have to kind of get around. You have to make sure that you do have the right opportunities. My slow does land here onto Lux. Unfortunately, I didn't land the stun, but the slow was enough for the Jhin to follow up with his route. That means that I can walk forward and use my first ability. Sometimes this is what I want you to do with Leona. If you have the opportunity, it is so much better for you to walk forward and guarantee the stun with your first ability, because the third ability, as mentioned, does have that little bit of a delay. So there is a time in which the third ability maybe might not be able to root or might not be able to stun the Tristana. So you can see the Shyvana's coming top, so this is time for me to try and engage here on the Tristana. Unfortunately though, I did hear the Scion ultimate, by the way, but I thought the Scion was going to ulti bot side. But really well played there by the Scion. The ultimate time in there from Scion was incredibly clutch to actually save the Tristana. Again, me going maybe a little bit too deep. I didn't think that Scion would come topside, to be fair. If I knew that the Scion was going to be topside, then I would have never gone for that engage. But I guess that's the surprise factor, what happens at the moment. Somehow Jhin gets the kill there on Tristana. I have no idea how, but must have landed the fourth shot with his ultimate. I mean, the buff Jhin is very, very powerful at the moment in the current meta. You can see Shyvana going topside, get another kill on the Lux as well. So overall, this game has been really, really good. I think I've roamed really well. I roamed really well in the mid lane to get the kill onto the Twitch. Scion dodging my ability there is pretty annoying. Honestly, I don't know why I flashed here. I mean, I don't think it was a very good flash, especially on the likes of Sion, who's going to take forever to die anyway. But I got into range to kill Twitch, right? It was all a bait the whole time. Like, all part of the plan, right? Like, that's what you have to do sometimes. Sometimes it's all part of the plan. I mean, to be honest, with Leona, you don't actually need your flash that much because you have your Hex flash to try and escape. But I should never flash on Sion. I should have, if I kept my flash there, I could have flashed onto Twitch instead, and I could have guaranteed that kill on the Twitch, which I got the kill anyway, but it was a little bit lucky that I actually got the kill, but I could have guaranteed it if I kept my flash available. So we got up in the top side here. We defend this top lane tower. You can see I'm going to just clear the wards, get vision around this top side. We still need to try and get this tower as well at the same time. This Hextech loot kit is going to be a little bit handy, not too much. Just going to be able to slow and deal a little bit of damage as Tristana walks up. You can see how I'm trying to play around vision at the moment. I'm trying to play around vision. I'm trying to make sure that I can get vision for my team and make sure that I can use the play and use the setup play really well. Jhin here using the ultimate really well, or using the stun, sorry, really well. And you can see my lockdown can be easily followed up by Jin's ultimate. Again, pretty much guarantee another kill. Hex flash forward, stun the Teemo, another kill. Go on to Lux, another kill. You see what I mean about Leona? Like, this does not happen with any other support. Leona is just there to be a nuisance, to offer the crowd control, to set up for her team, and she does it so damn well. If you can understand her abilities, then she'll be able to do it in an incredible way. You can see there I'm even using myself as a meat shield. That's a real team player right there. I use myself as a meat shield to make sure Sion didn't kill any one of my teammates. When do you ever see that in a support? I'm just saying. You'll never see that in a support player, but with me, you'll see that with me. I was actually a support main as well. For those who don't know, back in PC League of Legends, I was actually a support main. So this definitely feels right at home for me, you know, with this pick, with this play. Like, overall, this is definitely a pick that I've definitely been enjoying playing over quite some time. So you can see again, I'm trying to use this mid lane play to try and make an engage. Unfortunately, they read the play. They must have vision in that bush, or maybe they just read that someone might have been nearby. Unfortunately, we wasn't able to get the kills there in mid lane, but you can see Twitch. I can see that Twitch is going to go in the bush, and yeah. You don't want to walk that way as a Twitch, buddy. I mean, you're a Twitch. You're not a Sion. You're not a bruiser. You're not a tank. You don't want to be in that position. I flash over the wall here to try and stop the Lux ultimate, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to get there in time. I was still able to do enough anyway to just distract her from running away. Funny thing is here, I used the Hex Gate on the enemy side of the map to go from top to bot lane, and now I'm trying to make a play into bot side. But unfortunately here, I actually walked the wrong way. If I walk the other way, I'd probably catch out Tristana there. Actually super unlucky that I didn't catch out the Tristana. Giovanna went to top side anyway, so I think that's completely fine. Tristana jumped over the wall. I'm just keeping my eye out on Tristana. You can see here, I perfectly stunned the Tristana here. Again, no follow-up from my team. Really unfortunate timing as well. And then this actually is the death of Jhin. So I actually baited Jhin in there, unfortunately. That's again one of them situations where it's like, I land the perfect crowd control, but when there's no allies around me, it's not really perfect. You know, you need to make sure that your team is on the same page. Either you ping for the engage, or you make sure you make the same engage. Even though I did land the crowd control really well, in my opinion, that's probably my bad. You know, I probably shouldn't be in that situation where I bait the Jhin to go in with all of my crowd control. I think after my ultimate lands, if I know that I don't have follow-up from my team, I should just leave it at that. I leave it at that, and that's it. And you can see that if you're using all your other abilities, that's it. You've used all your other abilities. That's one thing with Leona as well, is that when you use all of your abilities, you have no way to escape. Every time you engage, you just have no way to escape at all. So it's extremely difficult to try and make sure you engage at the right time. You can see here that I'm using my group ping. I'm trying to make sure that my team can group with me and make sure that I can try and make a play here. You can see Jhin ultimate lands. I do miss my third ability, but it's still enough anyway. Again, just reacting and realizing the situation of the game. Going to that position, making sure that I know the Jhin lands the route. There is some other plays that can be made around the map is so important. We do have to be a little bit careful here, though. I did want to try and turn in this situation. I remember the situation quite well. I blocked the Scion ultimate here really, really well. And I'm trying to zone the Tristana away. I'm trying to make sure that Tristana is not close enough. She uses all of her abilities on me. But unfortunately, we're just losing the fight because we take too much damage from the Baron. And we weren't really, again, on the same page. You know, I'm there trying to stun the Tristana. I'm zoning away the Tristana, which, to be fair, it probably would have been a lot worse if I didn't zone away the Tristana. But you can see there what I'm saying is, like, we need to turn. Like, we cannot finish this Baron. It's way too difficult. We need to make sure that we turn. We focus on the squishies, like the Teemo, the Tristana, and the Lux. And we try and lock them down. Because I can use my ultimate here. I can use my lockdown to easily win a fight. And I think that's exactly what happens in this game as well. I use my crowd control pretty much to perfection. And I'm able to lock down and kind of win the fight. You can see here, I unfortunately missed the ultimate, but it's fine. Honestly, ultimates on a 30-second cooldown. Sometimes you're going to miss them. Sometimes they are pretty difficult to hit. Like you can see here, the abilities for Leona are pretty hard to land at times. You know, they do have a wind-up time. They're not like an instant effect straight away. They do have a bit of a wind-up time. You see how I'm pinging Teemo, making sure that my team knows that Teemo is still alive. I think we do kill Teemo here. Yeah, really well played by Shyvana to actually focus the Teemo there. You see how I flash onto Twitch, stun the Twitch up. Boom, there we go. That's the way in which my Zenith Blade kind of messed up, by the way. You see how my Zenith Blade there, because the Scion was behind the Twitch, I actually stunned the Scion and not the Twitch. So my best combo that I could have used there is first ability into ultimate. But I used first ability into third ability, which was actually a mistake and could have actually cost us not killing the Twitch. Because the Scion was behind, it meant that I root the Scion instead of the Twitch. But overall, it still worked out pretty well for us. Waiting in gold for 10 gold, making sure I get Zeke's convergence. Very, very strong. Very strong, very, very good item for Leona to just buff your damage, buff your allies' damage as well. Really, really good. Dragon is up and available. We're just going to walk towards the dragon here, make sure that the enemy team is not doing dragon. There are some Teemo shrooms around, so I know Teemo's nearby, and I know that's a great opportunity to take down Teemo. You step up too far against Leona, this is what happens every single time. And now I'm just using myself as a distraction. I'm just there as a distraction now, making sure that my team can get the objectives. We have the Infernal Dragon Soul now. And now we can actually do this Baron, because Teemo was the big problem for us doing Baron because of the blind, the Teemo shrooms. Now that Teemo's down, we can easily take this Baron. And that was really the big difference, really, between the first fight where Teemo was still alive and actually is invisible, and the other fight as well. You can see how I'm pinging that my ultimate is still available. Lux takes the kill. I'm trying to look around for the Twitch, making sure that the Twitch can't do anything. Look at that. CC on top of CC, and the Twitch is dead as well. As easy as that. I'm making sure that I keep my ultimate there for the Twitch, because I know that Twitch is the jungler, so I need to make sure that Twitch doesn't get close enough to use his smite and try and steal away the Baron. So again, very, very strong play to make sure that I can get that opportunity. Going for a bit of anti-heal as well. Honestly, at this point of the game, I think I'm more useful than actually taking the T-Hex here. I took the T-Hex because I know that my team is pretty, like, they're a pretty good team, right? Like, my team kind of know what they're doing. It's actually really nice here for me to take the T-Hex and, again, be the support of the team. Use this T-Hex to buff the minion wave and, again, be more of a tank as well. Which the T-Hex got buffed a few times, so it's actually not that bad now. But you can see here, I'm just using my ultimate, trying to take the tower, trying to use the zone potential as well. Using the second ability to get the shields. And all I'm doing right now is just being a tank. That's all I need to do. I need to walk forward here. I need to be a tank. If I lose the T-Hex, it's not that bad because I just come back alive and I have all my crowd control again. Oh my God, you can see the Jhin damage there as well. But my team, again, doing extremely well. It's like we got the mid lane in Hib. There's no reason for us to be mid lane anymore. We should go back to bot lane instead. I think Jhin flash forward here and 4 shots kills him. Yeah. Really, really well played by Jhin. We can use this bot side very, very well. We can push down this bot side now, get more towers. Joanna flashing in. I'm not too sure about that one, but I have a shield there to protect her. I have everything else to try and protect her there. I blocked the Scion ultimate. Look, I'm doing as much as I can this game to try and protect my team. Stun the Teemo.
I'm like, yeah, let me help the Scion and stun the Scion. Doesn't use the first ability. And yeah, at this point of the game, we're so far ahead that I can basically do whatever I want at this point of the game. Lux walks up here. I land my Zenith Blade. Okay, she didn't walk up. Oh, she walked up. Zenith Blade landed. No follow-up from my team now, unfortunately. Actually nearly died for it as well. My God, I nearly died for it. That was a mistake. It's fine. I mean, if I want to, I can stay with Warmorgs and I'm completely fine, but it's totally fine. I do get Thornmail this game. They do have a little bit of healing. It's not too much. I probably should have built towards Twin Guards. I did want Bramble Vest because they still do have a little bit of healing. You know, Tristana can heal. Not too sure if Lux had on Harmonic Echo or not. Twitch has the healing as well, so there are certain abilities in which they can be healed up. See me jumping here onto Tristana. Actually, okay, I Hex Flash over the wall there. And the reason why I Hex Flashed over the wall is if Tristana jumps over the wall, I'm there to stun her straight away. So I'm kind of thinking a step ahead. I know that Tristana might use her jump over the wall. So I'm like, okay, if she uses her jump, I can just pre-Hex Flash and be there ready to use my crowd control. That's exactly what I was able to do. I mean, also, it wasn't even... Tristana didn't even jump in the end, so it didn't actually mean anything anyway. But you can see now that I'm trying to play around this vision. I'm trying to see if I can play aggressive and trying to get a pick for my team, which is this is exactly what happens. Lux thinks that no one's in this bush, but actually, I'm right here, baby. Land the crowd control, land it onto Lux, and again, the setup play is there. The engage is there. Everything is there, ready and available. I go onto the Twitch as well. You can see how much damage I can take. Hex Flash over the wall, stuns onto the Teemo. I can't believe Teemo didn't die there, by the way. I think Teemo should have died there, but it's fine. I mean, Shyvana's taken Baron. We probably should have gone back and taken Baron, but I thought that it was a 4 versus 5, but it wasn't. It was a 4 versus 4 because Shyvana was at Baron. But I think we could have won that fight, you know. Again, you can see that I was playing around vision. I knew that Lux didn't have vision in the bush. If you step outside of Lux's third ability, Lux doesn't get vision, so she doesn't actually know that you're there. So I use that, and then I'm like, oh, here I am, surprise. Ultimate straight onto Lux, and then she's dead. This is probably the final push of the game now. Overall, pretty good. 3, 4, and 20. Objectives secured. Crowd control hits. Everything just worked out really, really well this game. Honestly, probably one of the best performances I think I've had on Leona, which is very, very good. Unfortunately, the T-Hex does get wasted. You actually need to make sure that you don't ruin the T-Hex. You don't waste the T-Hex. Because if you waste the T-Hex, then yeah, you're in a little bit of a struggle. You see here, I go onto Twitch. I use my oh my God. I killed Twitch without doing anything, by the way. Like, that is crazy how I killed Twitch. I mean, Twitch was like half HP, but still. I did so much damage there to Twitch that I was actually able to kill Twitch, which is kind of crazy. And you can see Shyvana in the backline now. I think Shyvana has enough healing and shielding to be able to survive. Stand the Lux and stun onto the Scion. I get that little bit of HP back thanks to the Warmog's passive as well. See, oh my God. Like, I'm stunning the Scion, but I manually aim my ultimate to hit the Lux as well. So the Jhin can actually follow up and take the kill. Unfortunately, I died to Scion's passive, but still. GG's overall. Very, very strong game. Really shows the power of Leona again. In my opinion, how you can be the forefront of your team. You could be the one to set up engages. You can be the one that is there to win the game for your team. It's not about the rest of the players. It's not about your jungler, your top lane, or anything like that. If you can play the Leona to a T like you saw in this game, and you can set up plays with your ultimate, and if you have that follow-up from your team, then you can use it. You can use this method to pretty much win most of your games. I didn't get MVP. I feel like I deserved MVP that game. I don't know. I feel like I did really, really well. I mean, Shyvana also did really well this game. You can see even my damage. 26,000 damage as a support is not low at all. And I think I even show the damage taken as well. I can't remember where the damage taken is. Oh yeah, you can see there. CC duration, 76. Damage taken, 50,000 damage taken. Maybe not as much as the Scion, but you can see you have damage with this build. You have the CC duration, which is like, what, 74? I think it was there. and then you have the damage taken as well. So you're a tank that can deal damage, that has a bunch of crowd control. What's not to love about Leona? But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this guide for Leona. Hopefully you learned a thing or two as well about her. And as always, make sure you tune into the next video. Until next time, take care. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.